Welcome, Jason, to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. I I like your shirt.
Yeah, thanks. It's baseball season. Baseball started up just the other day. So my family, we're big baseball fans. We're big Dodger fans, and so this one I actually got from my in-laws. So repping the Dodgers, kind of like in a Hawaiian style shirt. It's pretty fun.
Nice. I It's been 30 years since I've been to a Dodger game, at least. But it's fun to have that in common. We're both from California and made our way up here to Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, and that's pretty fun to. I feel like you and I we've got a lot in common, some similarities. So this is really fun to sit here and to be with you right now and be able to share some of them.
Great. So Jason is a, therapist here in Oregon, but before that, you were in student ministry for many years. How many years?
Yeah, so I did student ministry, worked with middle school, high school, and young adults, college young adults, for 18 plus years.
Wow.
So yeah, in various roles in different ways, but yeah, I got to do that as an occupation for 18 plus years, and it was a blast.
Yeah. Before we dig into more about your ministry and how you made that transition from ministry to therapy, would love to hear a little bit about your background growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up in Fresno, California. I'm one of four kids, and my parents and I, my parents are still married, and so really had, one of those. This is a really good. It was a really good childhood, and then as you get older, you start recognizing different things. It's like, oh, you know what? This kind of hurt, or this memory kind of hurt, or different things that took place, and it's one of those things where even when you grow up in what you think is a great uh, with a great childhood,
Yeah.
you still there's still wounds there. Like there's no way around it. There's still things that you pick up, different things that parents said, even if it wasn't meant to harm you, it still does some harm,
Mm,
and it creates a pain inside of you that none of us get to escape, right?
mm,
So uh, even if whether you came from the ideal home situation or you came from one that was more of a less than ideal, you're still going to walk away with wounds from your childhood, from growing up,
yeah.
and yeah. So I came up with different messages, and even just feelings of not being good enough, um, not measuring up,
Mm.
and different messages that still kind of I walk with today, um, and try to work through on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you had like a happy childhood, but then
Yeah,
it started those messages started getting louder or playing out.
yeah,
When
absolutely.
did you start noticing that?
Probably not until my late 20s is when
Oh,
I first
okay.
started. When I first really started realizing, like, oh, I got these messages coming around that are just that I carry with me,
Mm,
and so even the realization of these messages, because nobody, even if so, if you grow up in a good home, and I did with two great parents, um, nobody likes to blame their parents. If you go, especially if you grow up in a house where you're like, no, I had great parents and I had a great childhood, and my parents were amazing. It's like, well, yes, and uh,
mm,
they're they're wounded too, right? So they carry their pain, and
yeah,
their pain is going to spill out onto you one way or another.
yeah.
Uh, and so I probably didn't realize it until I was in my late 20s when I kind of ran up against different challenges, different things in ministry, and different messages that really got louder in my head.
Mm,
things that I had already been carrying with me that just got louder.
yeah. I'm so glad you're sharing this because I know a lot of folks have that similar uh, experience, and it's really confusing. Like,
Yeah.
what I had a great childhood. Um, what do I have to complain about, or why am I struggling? And it didn't, and that's surprising that you didn't notice it until your late 20s. Um, so I'm guessing, like, earlier, you were, did you get involved in ministry in your early 20s,
Yeah,
or
so
even
I
early?
yeah, I was one of those lucky people, if you want to call it that. I knew early on. I knew when I was basically when I was graduating high school that I was going to go into ministry. That's the direction that I was going to go into. And
Mm,
so undergrad, I spent um, studying ministry while also just working, interning, filling all of my waking hours doing ministry and hanging out with students.
mm,
Um, and so undergrad did that, started seminary right after that, um, going for a master's of divinity, which I eventually got. It took me 9 years to get it, but I
mm,
eventually got it. Um, and that was a little bit of a journey. But so I knew right away that I was going to go into ministry, that that was going to be something that I wanted to do. Um, and I realized, like, I'm a helper. That's what I do. I care about people. I want to help people. I want to guide and mentor. And um, so that was really one of the big pushes that got me involved in ministry and guided the direction of half of my life at this point. Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, uh, can you say a little bit more about 9 years in seminary? Like, what stretched that out?
Yeah. So, well, it was just one of those things where I graduated from undergrad, and I knew I wanted to go into seminary. I knew I was going to go into seminary at some point, but I couldn't find a full-time ministry job to start when I first graduated from undergrad. And
Mm,
so I thought I found a part-time job. I was offered a part-time ministry position, and I thought, well, I got all this extra time. I don't want to waste it. So I started with seminary, and I quickly realized after taking out some loans for undergrad, I was like, I don't want to do that for to get a graduate degree. I want to be able to pay for it out of pocket.
uh,
So that's what I did. And there was a move also from when I started seminary. I moved to the Bay Area in California, and started going to seminary there. But I took a year break before starting back up again, or 6 months, whatever it was. And then even moving from the Bay Area up to Portland, there was another 6 month break before I could start that up again,
uh,
and or continue on with it. So there was some transitions going on, but mainly the big one was I was paying for seminary as I was going along.
yeah, yeah. The uh, I did the same thing.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I took 5 years to go through seminary at Multnomah here in Portland for a pastoral studies degree.
Yeah,
Started in the MDiv program,
yeah,
and then realized uh, better fit more one-on-one in small groups. Not a good preacher. Um, so and then took 5 years to get through the counseling degree. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, very
yeah,
similar.
yeah.
Um,
It
and then through that you're doing ministry, you're going to school, and then you've got a family too.
Yeah, so I started my family when I was, yeah, so I had finished up my master's degree, and my wife and I started up our family, and that's when, uh, I was working as a uh, in middle school ministry, and uh, we had one kid, and we were kind of thinking about, all right, so my wife and I were talking and praying and thinking, like, okay, so what's next? What's the next thing? Because I started feeling there was a little bit of an urge to see like or a push from God or a tug saying like uh, there you may need to start or may want to start thinking about it, what's next. And but the other thing that was going on for me is I was looking around at just the increase of anxiety and depression and low self-esteem that was going on with young people uh, during my time in ministry, and just how the increase seemed to be going exponential, just an exponential increase, a rapid increase, even in the 7 to 8 years that I had been up here in the Portland area at that time. And I thought, I am nowhere near equipped enough to help out the way that I want to help out. I mean, I can do a few things just based on the pastoral counseling education that I had gotten, and I knew I could always refer out. But for me, it was like, I want to help. I want to be able to help parents. I want to be able to help students. I want to be able to help. I just want to help.
Yeah.
And that's when I started looking more into counseling. And I was thinking like, oh, well, I'll just talking to my wife, and we were thinking about it, and it's like, well, even if I stay in ministry, but I get a counseling degree, it's going to be a huge benefit. It's going to be a huge benefit. There's no way. It's just going to be a benefit to everybody.
Yeah.
And so started working towards a degree at George Fox University, and that took me, I think, 4 years to get through. Um, and during that time, yeah, I was going to school. I was having a small family and a small young family, and and working, doing ministry full time. So,
Those years of very full weeks.
oh gosh, you know what is so funny too is like I did not drink coffee at all until I had a kid. So it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't need coffee. I feel good. I got energy. I'm feeling great. And then as soon as you get a kid, it's like, oh man, I am falling asleep at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And so
Yeah.
I became a pretty big coffee drinker at that point.
Yes. The um the first year, or yeah, one of my first years in Portland, I lived above a coffee shop
Oh,
and only got one cup of coffee that whole year.
whoa.
I was not a coffee drinker either. It wasn't until I was working graveyard shift as a sleep technician,
Okay.
watching people sleep, that
Yeah.
it's, um, and yeah, even the first year of working graveyard, I didn't drink coffee. Yeah, so but the kids will definitely uh, affect your energy level
Oh
and your
gosh,
sleep.
yeah, that's just a different level of energy
Yeah, yeah.
and lack of sleep. I mean, I
Even working with teenagers didn't
oh
wipe you out. You were
no.
fine.
Well, yeah, and I mean, sometimes when you're in undergrad or grad school, you're pulling all-nighters to get papers done and doing different things. And then, so I would have to do that sometimes and then go to work, and I was fine. I'd be able to make it. But yeah, once I had a kid, that was game over. I'm looking around. I'm like, I need a stimulant. I need something that's going to help me stay awake. And
Mhm.
coffee became a good friend of mine.
Yeah, and we've got good coffee here in Portland.
Oh yeah, there's no
Yeah.
shortage of it here.
So the uh your before uh digging into the transition to therapy, um uh want to ask uh you, Jason, do you if you have any advice for youth pastors that might be listening, or even pastors for like your years uh, helping your students, um, any advice you have for folks struggling with anxiety, depression, self-harm, things
Yeah.
like that?
So just on one level, build up a good referral base. Like partner with therapists. Get to know therapists. If you are meeting with, I would say, like, if you're meeting with people for pastoral care, um, and because pastors have tons of responsibilities, and it's such a busy life, and it's getting busier. It's not slowing down. Um, so if you're meeting with people more than, I would 3 or 4 times, and you're not making any headway on solving the concern or the issue that the person is coming to you for, it
Mm.
might be time to really think about, how do I refer this person out to a therapist, um, so that I can be freed up to do what it is that I have been called to do, which is lead a church.
Mm.
And so I think a lot of times we feel like a pastor may feel like really guilty about doing that, thinking like, this is my person and I'm supposed to be the one that's caring for this person, and nobody else will do it like I can do it. And there's a sense of responsibility that we carry with that. And the truth is, the best care is often finding the right person to help get it done
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
So you're really caring for somebody well when you're connecting them with a therapist who is trained to help them do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that's even helpful for parents.
yeah,
I think parents can feel that pressure of like I need to be the one to help my child
yeah,
work through this. So
yeah. And
yeah.
it feels like such, it maybe feels like you're letting them down because you're not able to fix the problem or help with the issue. And the truth is, none of us can fix all the, even me as even us as therapists, we're not trained to help in every situation. And so for us, even knowing when a client comes in and we're not best equipped to help them with that, for us it's like, well, you're better served by if I refer you to somebody else who's really trained and equipped to help you with that.
Yeah.
Pastors kind of need to do the same thing. And then I would also add, just for a pastor too, is is well, sorry about, I had something come up. But even for a pastor to be uh, willing to go and know when they're hitting their limits. So being willing to go and reach out for help for themselves, uh, to take care of themselves, because for pastors it's like, well, I'm not the one that's supposed to be hurting. Uh,
Mm.
I have God. I'm just not putting enough um, faith in God, or I'm maybe not putting enough uh, emphasis on my own quiet time, or in my own study, in my own prayer life. And sometimes we forget that, yeah, God also gave us community,
Mm.
and so that we can carry each other's burdens.
Yeah.
And as a pastor, you gotta you gotta be willing to go find help for you too.
Yeah.
And
In your ministry, Jason, what were some of the hardest points? What were some of the times that you had to do that?
yeah, the hardest part for me was often when um, I was not getting the feedback that I was hoping to get. So again, kind
Mm.
of like, as a helper, you want to help, and you think that you're good at what you do, and um, not everybody feels that way.
Oh,
So for
yeah.
me, I mean, if I'm just getting, if I get a little bit more specific, I've had different supervisors, different pastors who were supervisors for me, who like, I would get feedback from students, and students were showing up to my programs and everything that I was doing, and I was getting good feedback from parents. Parents loved what I was doing. Uh, volun- uh, Volunteers would love what I was doing, but my supervisor would have something where they just did not think that I was doing a good enough job, or maybe I had reached my potential. And
Mm.
uh, And so for me, it was like, I'm angry, and I don't even know why. Like, just feeling this anger, this burnout, feeling not supported. For
Yeah.
me, that's
Yeah.
when the messages really started coming up for me. Like, I, I don't know what's wrong. I'm not good enough for this person.
Mm.
And
And that like sucked the joy out of the work, like
yeah, yeah,
discouraging you.
yeah. That was big discouragement. And one of those things about I would say I was mildly depressed. And one of those things that depression can do for you is it can make you angry.
Mm.
And you doubt yourself, you doubt your calling, and you can get angry. And I got angry, not angry at not in a like, hey, I'm gonna blow up all over you, or I'm gonna start screaming or anything, but just
Hmm.
brooding. For me, it was just a
Mm.
brooding uh anger and a pain that I was carrying.
That's a nice Christian version of anger,
Yeah, yeah, right.
right?
It's the
Yeah.
one where we don't show everybody that we're actually hurting or that we're angry. And it was really hard because as a pastor, you're not supposed to show everyone that you're hurting. Like, I'm here to help everybody else. I can't talk about my hurts, because
Yeah.
even then uh you get kind of like in this, like, I'm not supposed to talk bad about anybody. I'm not supposed to talk bad about my bosses or my church, but you don't have any friends either.
Oh man, that's really. I'm a pastor's kid, so I for my dad, I remember it, uh, like feeling really isolated and alone. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Did it affect your
Absolutely.
marriage?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Although, I mean, again, this is one of those things, like, I have a fantastic wife. I would never speak bad about my wife.
Mm.
Uh, um, but yeah, there were definitely moments where she she got tired of me,
Mm.
where she got tired of and I wouldn't even say tired of me. She got tired of seeing me hurting,
Being
uh,
affected,
and being a
hurting.
yeah,
Yeah.
and how it would, I mean, and again, it would impact her.
Mm.
It would impact her. Uh, I don't know how to say it outside of, yeah, she saw me hurting, and it impacted her. And how it impacted her, I think she would be able to say that much better than I would.
Mm.
Um, so I wouldn't want to put words into her mouth, but yeah, it just impacted our marriage. And so
Yeah.
we went and got marriage counseling for us, and it was amazing.
Mm.
Again, not that we weren't in danger of divorce. We weren't going to get divorced. We weren't even in an open, angry conflict. It wasn't one of those situations, but it was one of those things where you could just tell, like, hey, this is going to be good for us,
Mm.
even if we just do it as a check in, to have conversations that maybe we had not been having, and just things that we were harboring against one another without even knowing that we were harboring it. So for us, it was great. And we try to make it a point to go ahead and have uh, or participate in marriage counseling just on a every 5-year basis, even if nothing is going on.
Mm.
Because the truth is, and I'm sure you or have experienced this. It's just like, hey, marriage is hard. Like, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stress, and especially now during COVID, like, there's so many things that are pulling people away
Yeah.
from each other, and not a lot going on that's bringing people together. And so marriage counseling can be one of those things that helps you come together. So many couples right now, so many marriages are feeling like they're not on the same team, that they're in opposition
Yeah.
to one another. And
It's already
so,
hard
oh yeah,
going through this, but when that creeps in, just makes it harder.
yeah, so hard, and people feeling alone even inside of their marriage.
Mm.
Um, so there's just times when having another person there to help you guide or navigate conversations, who's gonna poke um, in a gentle way,
Yeah.
And
I like counseling as a check-in.
yeah,
I kind of like assume that, but your recent blog about 5 reasons to do couples counseling, one of those was as a check-in. I'll share that in the notes. I thought that was really helpful, even if you're not in like a active conflict. Um, but for- just as a way of checking in when things feel off, it's really helpful.
yeah, like I don't know how often I mean that's just how things I mean, it's oftentimes it's how things start, right? You don't have to be in an open conflict for things to just feel off, and then those kind of painful messages that we carry about ourselves when when we uh, when we face something, or let's say my wife says something, looks at me in a way that makes me feel a pain that I've been carrying from my childhood or something that I've picked up, and so I just got this message that's kind of going on inside of me. I am going to automatically react. I won't even necessarily um, I won't even necessarily uh, have time to think about how I want to react. It's just an automatic thing. And
Yeah.
then so then I go ahead and I have an automatic reaction to something that she says to me, and then she's going to pick that up and have her pain, and then she'll automatically react. And before you know it, it's just everybody is reacting without having any intentionality to it, and you're really in a cycle of pain. And so counseling can help you figure a lot of that stuff out too.
Yeah. So years of ministry, you wanted to get more training to deal with the mental health issues that you were seeing in your students, and wanted to feel better equipped. Um, how t- t- so what does your training look like now? Are you still in ministry, or are you um, full time in counseling practice and as a therapist?
Yeah, I am full time in counseling as a therapist, and so up here in Oregon, I'm working towards. I'm not fully licensed. I'm working towards licensure. Um, you have to get 2,400 hours worth of counseling in order to be fully licensed. So I'm on my way to getting that. But I am full time therapy. Have started my own practice recently, and am really enjoying. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the process and the ride of trying to to help people in a totally different way,
Yeah,
and then but yet have something very similar going on as well. So
yeah. uh, 18 years
yeah,
or more. That's a big change. So one of the things that I'm asking guests is, how does courage show up in their lives and in the lives of the people that they help, in their clients, or the people they help. Um, uh, t- uh, there's lots of pastors that are probably like rethinking ministry this year, um, with how things are going. So whether it's a transition to therapy or grad school or another career field, can you speak to them about what you learned and how you made that decision?
yeah. So I would say uh, like God opens doors, and a lot of times I think we wait for like a really strong, solid sign that God is going to come and lead us and direct us or guide us. And I just don't think it could be that like, hey, you have multiple options or multiple doors that are open, and God has opened all of them up for you and is looking at you and saying, hey, like these are all good choices. Go with one.
Mm,
Because in any case, I'm still, even as a therapist, I'm still able to serve God or to help other people or love other people and fulfill uh, the mission as a therapist of
yeah,
loving God and loving others. Uh, I would think that the courage is there. It's already there inside of you. Um, and sometimes you just got to tap into it. Ask for help. Do things that care for yourself and rejuvenate yourself.
Mm.
And um, yeah, I think those are really big big ones. You know, looking
Mm.
for guidance, looking for help. And I would say too, I would say this about ministry is, because I think we forget about this too, is uh, ministry is not worth the cost of your own soul. So if you are
Mhm.
hurting enough and just in so much pain because of the ministry that you're participating in,
Mm.
um, you know, get the help that you need. If it's time for you to move on, don't hold on. The the work is not worth the cost of your soul. So if you're in a really bad situation, like, get the help and reach out and like figure it out. We can figure it out.
Mm.
Get the help to figure it out, I
To
guess.
figure it out, make a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, therapy, uh, going from student ministry into therapy. What are the things that you're specializing in or focusing on?
Yeah, so I feel really good having worked with millennials for the better part of my life, or at least half of my life.
Mhm.
I really love working with millennials, and at this point in time, they're in that college, young adult, early career um, situation. A lot of them are becoming parents.
Mhm.
I really love working in that age group. I still work with some high schoolers, not as many middle schoolers. And I love working with marriages, with couples, because I've also learned over time that if I can help parents out, I'm helping out the whole family.
Right.
So if I can help out parents and people in their marriages, I can help out the kids too. So that's also a big passion of mine. Marriages and young adults, people that are dealing with anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and marriages who are needing assistance with communication, are in conflict, and wanting to understand kind of the relational system or how their relationship is functioning.
Yeah. The for marriage counseling, do you have a specific framework or training
Yeah,
that you like to
yeah,
use?
so, yeah. So I have some training in EFT, but I'm what is called really like a restoration therapist. So I found restoration therapy. It was developed by Dr. Terry Hargraves, done at Fuller Seminary. I just kind of happened upon it, and we really kind of look at in restoration therapy. You look at kind of like a person's pain cycle. What are the messages that they have or receive about themselves, and then what kind of automatic coping behaviors do they go into?
Mm.
And then are those coping behaviors helping you actually achieve or get to the goal that you want, the desired outcome that you're looking for?
Yeah.
So I've found that it works in marriages as well as individuals. But in marriages, it's great. What's great about it is you can really see how each individual is their coping behavior is impacting the other person, and really everybody that we go around and walk around and talk to and interact with. But in marriages, it's pretty big, and you can talk through the pain cycle that the couple is currently in dealing with, and what can you do, or what steps can you do or take to get into more of a place of peace and
Mm.
operate from a peace rather than a pain.
Yeah.
So we look a lot at the negative messages, and work to discover, well, what's actually true about you. And it jives really well with with my faith, with the Christian faith, as well, just because uh, when we think about the messages that we have and have been given from God, from our Creator, uh, how many times do we actually believe those messages? So again, if I am thinking of myself as not being good enough or not measuring up,
Hmm.
well, what does God say about me? What name does God give me? Um, we read about that in the Christian scriptures about God giving new names. And if I am just beating myself down with a certain name, I'm a failure. I am not loved. I am whatever it may be, whatever message we hear. Uh,
Hmm.
well, at least in my faith, um, gosh, are those messages really true?
Right.
Well, no. Like, that's God has given me a name, and he's called me his own, and he's called, he loves me, and I need to live in that truth rather than in the negative message. And if I own that truth, if I can live in that truth, well, then the outcomes, the way that I want to act, rather than react, are very, very different.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the short and sweet
A
of
good.
it.
That's yeah. That's a good overview. So, for, one thing I I'm gonna take away from what you just described is uh, a lot of times folks grow up in church and even in 20 years of ministry, uh, we know God loves us. I mean, that's the message. But if we don't address the pain or the wounds, um, we don't really understand why that truth of God's love isn't really sinking in, and we're not really fully experiencing it because the pain, because of those negative messages. Those negative messages are pain, the big part of the pain.
Yeah. And oftentimes I think we're just so used to and so comfortable with the pain, right? So like
Mm,
we've lived with it for, I don't know, sometimes for some of us decades. Uh, and so we're just used to the pain. And when and because of our brain and because everything that's coming out about neuroscience and attachment and everything, um, oftentimes when we recognize, see something, smell something, see, any kind of experience that seems familiar to us, that has caused us pain in the past, our brains are hardwired in to go ahead and directly just bam, uh, go to this behavior. This is the coping behavior that keeps you safe, that protects you, that you are just used to. So we know it really, really well. We're comfortable in it.
mm,
We're not as comfortable living in the truth of who we are. In fact, a lot of times clients will just say like, "Oh, this is weird. I don't believe. I know it's true, but I'm having a hard time believing it." And
mm.
that's absolutely the case, because it takes time to develop new neural pathways.
It's really uncomfortable.
It's super uncomfortable to live in a way that we're not used to,
Mm.
and to accept a truth that we have a hard time believing
Yeah, yeah,
about ourselves.
yeah. And it's not that like God's love and forgiveness and grace. It's not that's not the bad part. Like that feels great. It's the feeling of like it's too good to be true, or if I
Yeah,
mess up, it's going to be taken away.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Um, you're still doing ministry with clients. It's just a little different, uh, different mode or different tools.
Yeah, yeah. There's different tools, and the relationship is different, certainly than as a pastor. Uh, but it's still ministry. You're helping people really understand who it is that they are. Like, just uh, leaning more into the truth of who they are rather than accepting, or I don't even want to say accept. And it, instead of just kind of being who it is that they've told or have been told that they
Mm,
are. Um, and those those parts of them that just aren't true, and they have inherently just accepted it as truth, or have quite literally had it spoken into them.
Mm. I think that's one of the key differences between um, being a part of or the way we do church, and then hearing sermons about God's love and our identity, but being able to process and talk with you as a therapist, the dialogue is part of what rewires the
Yeah,
the messages, not just hearing it, um, but kind of processing and working that out. Um, yeah. Uh, I can I shift gears a little bit? Uh,
yeah,
um, the you were in different types of ministries, but employed by churches, um, and now you're in private practice and practice owner, or a part of a group, or are you on your own?
yeah. No, I'm on my own.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
what's that like? And what are you learning uh, in that?
Yeah, I am learning a whole lot about business stuff,
Okay.
and I'm learning. But uh, you know what? I'm really learning to trust my strengths a lot more, uh, and learning I am uh, that I am just by myself. Like I'm enough. Now it's a lot of risks, uh, and a lot of them feel bigger. Some are bigger, some are smaller. Um, but even just kind of learning and trusting myself, like, yeah, if this goes wrong, will I be okay? Like, will I be able to figure it out? Even if I go ahead and I do this,
Mm,
I will. I will be okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd rather not mess up and save myself the time and the energy and the resources. But even if I do get it wrong, I will be okay. So I think learning that or growing in that is a great gift. Um, that I am enough to be okay,
mm,
uh, is a great gift.
yeah.
Um,
Do you think you would have been able to say that with that confidence 10 years ago?
no,
If you had made the
no,
switch 10 years ago?
no. Absolutely not.
Okay.
And it's funny. I don't know that I would have been able to say that really 5 years ago, or certainly not 10. But even 5 years ago, I'm not sure that I would have.
Mm,
It's a thing that kind of comes with really acceptance, like
mm,
accepting parts of who I am and who God has created me to be, and that because even in ministry, it's really hard to not go in with the mindset of I need to keep improving, I need to improve, I need personal growth, uh, I need to do better for myself, I need to do better for God, I need to do better for my relationships. I just need to go ahead and keep improving. And while I'm not against improvement now, or self improvement now, or personal growth now, uh, I think I've also learned quite a bit about, hey, like I'm pretty, I'm okay. Like
mm.
I am okay
Being
right
at
now.
ease with
Just
yourself.
yeah, just with who I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
And so
Mm,
yeah, that's a huge. I just think that's a huge gift.
mm,
And when I'm able to go ahead and sit in that place and just be okay and recognize that, God still loves me and gives me His grace just as I am right now,
mm.
as if I were as just He gives me that same grace and that same love now, um, as He would if I were spending 20 hours in prayer, or on my knees, or studying Scripture, or in active uh, ministry helping somebody else. Like He loves me just the same. That
That's right.
allows to sit here now and just be okay and to accept who I am,
Mm,
really gives me freedom to enjoy God more, I think, and
mm,
enjoy God's grace more, because I don't feel the need to to do all those other things. I still want to do them. That doesn't mean I've stopped doing it,
Yeah.
any of it. But there's more freedom now for me to enjoy it now.
Yeah. We enjoy God, we enjoy life when we have that sense that he enjoys us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's a great gift to be sitting in that space, and one that I want to help other people reach, right? I mean, that's what we that's what we want, to help other people get to that space too.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. The as we wind down the time, is any last thoughts, Jason, that you'd like to share with listeners? What and any of the things that we've talked about, or anything else?
Uh, yeah. One, I would just say, like, you are doing okay. Uh,
Mm.
Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing okay, and that's just there's there's no need for you to put extra pressure on yourself. Um, there are people who I there are people who care for you and support you and want to help, if you are feeling that need. And uh, during this time of COVID, I feel like we're still busy as ever, if not busier,
Mm.
during this whole time. And it's okay. Like, you are enough. You are enough, and you are okay. Um, I would say that's kind of like, I don't know. That's the big message, I guess.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know if
good
it's a good one, but that's the one that I got.
that's a good one. I'm taking a deep breath and soaking that one in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason. So, um, I'll include links with how to connect with Jason uh, in the show notes, and in the comments of our YouTube video. Really appreciate you coming on, Jason. Really uh, great to get to meet you and get to know a little bit more about your story, and look forward to learning more from you. We didn't get into your writing too much, but I want to say I've been appreciating Jason's blogs, and it looks like you're still writing for youth ministry too.
Yeah, yeah. So I still am trying to, even though I'm not directly involved in student ministry anymore, I still feel like I have something to give, and I want to still stay connected. So yeah, I'm still writing for different youth ministry blogs, and have my own blog up, just to try to give practical advice and steps on things that people can do in order to really kind of reach their goals of emotional, mental, and spiritual wellness.
Great. Thank you once again, Jason.
Yeah, thanks
Take
so much.
care.
You too. Thanks.